Welcome to the GGB Supplier Showcase. I'm Frank Legato, editor of Global Gaming Business Magazine. Today, we are featuring the supplier Bluberi, and our guest is Mike Brennan, who is Chief Product Officer for Bluberi. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for having us again.
And today, we're going to be discussing the brand new Beacon Plus cabinet. It's a new version of the Beacon family, a for sale version. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, why don't we start by telling us what are the best features of it and how does it improve on your prior form factors?
For sure, yeah. So we released the Beacon Elite. That's our premium product line earlier in the year. And now we are proud to launch the for sale version of the Beacon Plus. And we're going to have a little fun with it on this showcase. We're going to go a little analog style, kind of like Johnny Carson back in the day with some cards. So I'm going to spell out the unique selling propositions of our Beacon Plus cabinet. Starting with the bright monitor. And we actually started this cabinet back in 2020, had a fair amount of iterations. And really what it comes down to, and we'll talk about a lot of aspects of the cabinet, is the monitor. It's probably the biggest investment that a lot of us manufacturers spend on the cabinet, and we wanted to be right there at the top of the line. So we have a super crisp and bright 620 nit Ultra HD 49-inch monitor. I keep upgrading it with a really narrow bezel that we strove for. It's really the best way to provide this super content, color-rich, high contrast, really letting our content shine through. And so big investment in the monitor. That's really the first selling point is the bright monitor. And maybe a little subterranean homesick blues, kind of throw it over here and go on to the next one. Plenty of modern references for our younger viewers. Next, we have easy access. So I talked about some of the research we did. And, we did research with operators. We actually brought in manufacturing. We had some of our vendors come in, some players. But we spent a lot of time with our field service team. And arguably, they were the most important group. We actually had a good session with a big group of them. Here's what's crazy is we implemented 89 changes based on our feedback. So some small, some big, some like set screws on the topper to make it easier to install when it's inline. We actually had one of our vendors recommend a certain radius kind of below the cabinet because it fit a tool they had. So it saved us some time and cost there. But really what it led to is highlights of a really maintenance and serviceable cabinet. So we talk about easy access. There are no components behind the monitor, so you don't really have to deal with the monitor and lift it and pull it out. It opens downward. Inside, if you want to take off the button deck, there's literally 2 screws that require to take it off. The components within the button deck are easy service. So if you break a button, you don't have to replace a expensive whole component. So we really focused on you look at a cabinet, it's got a lot of aesthetics, but what's underneath the hood, how it can be serviced, how that saves money right out on the casino floor. And so we're really proud of what we did, including something like the player tracking tray is removable. So when you're installing a cabinet, you can have 2 different teams work on PT while other people work on software and other things. So definitely focused on easy access as the second main point of the cabinet. What's next after E? We of course have.
I would think an A. Yes, an A. There's an A.
All around lighting. So we have 360 degrees. We actually have the cabinet in its kind of tunnel configuration behind me. It's floor to ceiling. The lighting goes all the way from the toes to the candle with kind of a unique candle. And we really have 360 degrees of lighting. We made a little joke internally. You can see here, there are literally lights on the back of the cabinet. And that's either, we said internally, the best or worst idea with lighting, right? Because if it's against the wall, you may not see it. But we're really striving for and getting unique configurations where, the lights can shine out on the main floor. And it creates this really neat tunnel effect when it's in a inline configuration. Then we have some tricks up our sleeve when it's in a pod config. But really, there are no dead spots. It's all about this really attractive lighting, no dead surfaces and angles, and including it actually has an Ultra HD topper as well.
Okay. Can I have a C, Alex?
For sure. Okay, so we've talked about the hardware. Now let's talk about the Core Plus content. So another thing we're talking about, let me throw this one this way, internally is, can we not make just core games? We've shared our philosophy a fair amount. That's going to evolve over time, but where we are today in our position in the industry is every time we make a core game, we're shooting kind of for the moon. We're not really making clones. we've ramped up to 6 different content sources, so 5 studios and 1 exclusive third party. And we've really set it up where we have the process in place where everybody can make kind of personal and passionate games. So we're not going to turn these studios into a factory. So really every game they work on kind of has their own kind of artisanal approach to trying to make, the next great game. So the content that we have on the Beacon Plus, we're really calling it Core Plus. It's really there's more hours that we spend on our games, I think, than others in the industry. Now I got to be careful to make sure these are efficient hours. And that's our job, my job, to make sure that, these aren't wasted hours. We'll really spend the time to put a little more hours into the games we make. So that's the content that's really showcased by the Beacon. I will kind of take it aside and talk about marketing for a bit. One of the hardest things, we're spelling out the Beacon in this, is naming the cabinet. As you can imagine, everybody's got an opinion of what the name is, and we had a long process for that. And with marketing, I'm really proud of our marketing team. They're doing a really good job. And what we've done is we're trying to like kind of qualitative things. Is one thing our marketing team does is we have 3 tones and 3 tactics that we kind of look at big campaigns that we're doing. Like, does it fit the tone of Bluberi, and is it quality? And so through this whole kind of explanation is when we came up for the name of the Beacon, one of the top 3 names was Vessel, Vessel. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but we really were looking at that because it had some marketing potential. But really, the cabinet is a vessel for content, and so that's why we really considered it, and that's why the Beacon is like a beacon for our content as well. So really, at the end of the day, cabinets are critical, ergonomics, attractiveness, but it really lets content shine, and that's letter. Oh my goodness, C is Core Plus content, a big part of our selling props for this cabinet.
Okay. What's next? What could
the big old O? So yeah, all right. We make games for players. We make our cabinets for players, but we make our cabinets for operators. And so operator focus is a big part of this. I talked about some things already. With the content, we're doing no cabinet exclusives at first, right? So our launch games, you can use them on your B49 cabinet. So that was our predecessor, and our current cabinet. We're still supporting 100% of our games are backwards compatible on the B49. So if you took a position on the B49, we got you, right? Everything you see here, you're going to get on the B49. So that's a big part of it. We talk about the footprint a little bit, or I could talk about it. It's, slimline. It still gives us really good lines of sight. So it's got this lighting and attraction, but you kind of peer through it. Every cabinet comes with a free spacer. So we have it's set up so you can get a little more player space if you want it. If you're very space constrained, we have an integrated base that sits on the same footprint as kind of everybody's using in the industry. If you want to use these spacers, they come with it. It helps accentuate the tunnel you see behind me. We have this onboard progressive controller, or another O, so that's a huge one, right? So a lot of games that have jackpots and progressives need a third-party controller. We have integrated that into the brain box, so that's a big selling proposition. Really, when we look at this cabinet, we want to create something that's going to earn, that's going to attract, but it's also going to be maintenance friendly. It's going to be everything that we could think of. We're going to try to make it really appealing to our first customer, and that, of course, is our critical operators that are taking a position on the Beacon.
Okay, and finally,
yes, we have just kind of a summary, as my voice cracks there, new and novel things. That's what I want to ask you a question, Frank. Like, if you think about hardware over the years, it's really harder and harder to differentiate. Kind of our screens are maxed out. People are really focusing on things now like integrated toppers or different cuts LCDs. But I don't know if you had some favorite innovations in the past, right? The first curved screen, or the Bose sound system from the old WMS days. But yeah, it's kind of those days it's harder to stand out. I don't know if you have a favorite.
I remember that first curved screen from Bally, and how radical it was. And when they brought it out, Mike Mitchell didn't have a prototype of it, so they worked up a cardboard prototype of that curved screen. But it was so radical that it just, operators just loved it. Even without seeing the actual cabinet. That sticks in my mind all the time.
There's great examples like that where our competitors and predecessors have done an amazing job of like driving things forward in so many unique ways that we're kind of tapped out a little bit, at least with the casino footprint we have. It's funny you mentioned the prototype. We actually started with a wooden prototype back in 2020. So this is our amazing team up in Quebec. We got Yvonne and Matthew here working, Stefan built this thing from scratch, and that's where this started. And what we try to do is like kind of take something that could be evergreen, one more throw, and really make it new and novel. And so just kind of a summary, our button deck has gel capped buttons on it. So we really spent a lot of time, energy, and actually cost on the buttons. I mean, think about it. We try to get the perfect stroke on the nice soft gel cap buttons, because that's what our players interact with 99% of the time. You know, we have 0 dead surfaces, as I mentioned. Like, this thing is 360 degrees. It folds down. It's got that first ever player tracking removable tray. We've got a launch without restrictions. And really, we have all these creative banking options. And you kind of add it all up with these new and novel items. And kind of little by little, they create a really diverse kind of unique cabinet that's evergreen enough where, you know, players are going to see it, remember it, but it's not so different that it's going to kind of be dated over time, with the thin bezel and the great monitor. And so altogether, we're excited about Beacon Plus launching right now. Sales is taking orders. We're going to have a bunch of them, you know, go out around the G2E standpoint. We're launching with a pair of jacks. We got Timberjack and Jackpot Shot, and then 4 other games getting approved before the end of the year that we'll kind of try to test and get some data on. And overall, really ready for this new era of Bluberi with the Beacon Plus. You've seen how it's spelled, and we just hope it spells, you know, really strong revenue and performance and really player love when we get it out in the field.
I'm sure it will, and we will look for it at G2E to occupy a prominent spot in your booth, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. We'll have the most cabinets we've ever had, with the biggest booth we've ever had, and some really different ways of the way we present it. So can't wait to see everybody there at G2E.
Okay, Mike, thanks a lot for being on the showcase today, and we will see you soon.
Yeah, no, thank you, Frank. Appreciate this.
Thank you for joining us for the GGB Gaming Supplier Showcase, our exclusive look at the best products and services produced by vendors for the gaming, iGaming, and sports betting industries. For more information about the GGB Supplier Showcase, contact Terry Brady at tbrady@ggbmagazine.com.